Okay, let's jump right into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating observation from Tommy Yoshida. The title roughly translates to, "In an era where AI makes anime cheaper, what might we lose?" It's a massive question, right? It forces us to take a hard look at this fundamental shift happening in Japanese anime right now. Let's dive straight into what actually happens when human creators collide with artificial intelligence.
Now, right off the bat, I want to be clear. This explainer isn't about judging AI. We're not here to hand you some rigid black and white conclusion. Instead, we're basically observing a massive transition as it unfolds. We are all caught right in the middle of this shift. So a lot of the ideas we'll be chewing on today are open questions, pending doubts that don't necessarily need immediate answers. We're literally watching in real time as a giant industry tries to figure out exactly where the machine ends and the human begins.
To really grasp AI's impact here, we've got to look at the ground reality of the anime industry today. And the reality is, we are in an era of absolutely unprecedented production. Yes, the global market is booming, it's bigger than ever, but that boom carries a very, very heavy burden. If you scroll through any discussion board, you'll see fans noticing the strain. They're saying there are just too many titles, or the stories feel identical, and shows just vanish before they even have a chance to breathe. The sheer volume of content is creating this intense, undeniable fatigue. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. So, given the massive labor shortages, the famously grueling working hours, and the sheer volume of production we just talked about, using AI's hyper-efficient digital space to handle certain tasks isn't just a natural progression, it's practically a necessity. We're talking about AI stepping in to generate those super complex backgrounds, assist with the tedious coloring process, draw the thousands of in-between frames you need for fluid motion, and even handle translation to get these shows to the global market faster. Honestly, it would be way too simple and totally unrealistic to just say, hey, we shouldn't use AI at all. The relief it can offer to an incredibly overworked industry is absolutely massive. But, and there is a big but here, solving that efficiency problem introduces a completely different kind of challenge. And that tension brings us right to our core conflict. Imagine two completely different worlds sitting side by side. On one hand, you have the deeply organic human element. Think cramped, messy studios, warm, glowing tracing desks set against the sunset skyline, crumpled up paper everywhere, just that warm, chaotic environment where truly strange and wonderful worlds are born. Then, on the other hand, you have the vast, cold, geometric digital space of AI. It's an environment built on infinite data and floating screens that naturally, by its very design, optimizes for the acceptable average. So the million-dollar question is, how on earth do we bridge these two incredibly different worlds without losing the very soul of the medium? Well, that tension leads us to a fascinating phenomenon we can call the pull of the average. You see, at its core, AI is basically a giant pattern-matching engine. It is insanely good at analyzing mountains of existing data to figure out what worked in the past, what looks familiar, and what the vast majority of people will find acceptable. Now, for commercial efficiency, that is a huge strength. But if we leave it unchecked, this incredible efficiency risks quietly erasing the exact quirks, those weird minority data expressions, and the totally unexplainable charms that made Japanese anime a global phenomenon in the first place. AI really struggles with the truly unique simply because the truly unique hasn't been repeated enough times to become a strong pattern in its data. So, almost like gravity, it pulls the creative output toward a safe, recognizable, but kind of standard center. This is why the real danger doesn't actually lie in AI creating things. Actually, scratch that. The danger is human creators letting their own judgment weaken over time. Using AI as a slick tool to speed up your workflow is one thing, but allowing an algorithm to dictate what feels safe and reasonable, that's something else entirely. Imagine you're a creator. You're exhausted, the deadline is breathing down your neck, and the budget is incredibly tight. In that moment, it becomes incredibly tempting to just accept the AI's very first suggestion. I mean, it looks good, right? It's commercially viable, but bit by bit, decision by single decision, human intuition is quietly surrendered to statistical averages. We really have to take a step back and remember why this medium became an absolute global powerhouse in the first place. Listen, anime's global power was never purely about technical perfection or pushing the absolute highest number of frames per second. No way. It's deeply rooted in these beautiful, totally unmeasurable imperfections. We're talking about incredibly unorthodox world building that, logically, shouldn't even work, but somehow totally does. We're talking about that slightly awkward silence between two characters that stretches maybe just 1 second too long, or a crazy character design that completely shatters standard global templates. These are subtle emotional nuances born from intense, sometimes downright irrational human obsession. And those are the exact, specific quirks that an efficiency-driven AI will almost certainly try to smooth out and optimize away.
And that brings us to the real hidden trap here, the danger of the seamless standard. If we sit back and allow an algorithm to quietly define the baseline for creativity, it might look like a totally harmless, tiny efficiency win today. You save a few hours generating a background here, you speed up a character framing there. In a single production cycle, it doesn't seem like a big deal at all, but zoom out. Over time, across hundreds of studios and thousands of projects, it fundamentally shapes the very soul of the stories a culture can produce. If literally everything becomes optimized for speed and acceptable familiarity, we lose all those amazing rough edges. We lose the weird, the experimental, the brilliantly flawed masterpieces that end up defining a whole generation. We end up with a seamless, standard product that looks absolutely perfect, but feels entirely empty inside.
So, what does this all mean? The future we're sprinting towards isn't some dramatic sci-fi battle of human versus machine. It's way more subtle than that. The real battleground is what we can call the power of the pause. It's that conscious, deliberate decision by a human creator to sit at their messy desk, stop for a second, and say, no, I am absolutely not going to automate this specific part. It's about choosing exactly what we fiercely protect from that relentless drive for efficiency. Maybe, sure, you let the AI color the sky, but you absolutely refuse to let it time the emotional dialogue or design a protagonist's flawed, messy reaction to a tragedy. Moving forward, the true art of the medium is going to be defined by the hard boundaries humans draw around their own creative process.
Ultimately, the big question isn't about what the technology is capable of creating. It's about what we, as humans, will voluntarily hand over. Think about it. If we use AI simply to make an already exhausting production cycle spin even faster, we haven't actually solved the industry's underlying problems, right? We've just built a much more efficient treadmill. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. In an era of infinite data, ruthless pattern matching, and incredible speed, is our absolute greatest artistic asset simply the human choice to hold on to the imperfect? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, and as always, keep questioning the systems around you.